This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
Work at the Capitol there, you'll see young, like, United Colors of Benetton type vibe. So it's definitely that kind of vibe there at the Contrary. Oh, the Contrary made it into the cold open. That'll work. That's a good pub. Yeah, that was a great vibe. It's long overdue, that kind of vibe, the kind of ambiance that the Contrary has created. Anyway, we're rolling. We're back. It's Brother's Gonna Work It Out. It's me going back to the old format, kind of, wherein I go a little bit of stream of consciousness. Yes, welcome. Hopefully you're interested. Being teased. You've been getting. We've been doing a lot of interviews, and so that's a different vibe. I like it. I honestly like it a lot. I was scared that people were probably getting bored. Anyone that was listening was bored of me just ranting and rambling by myself, and so it's probably refreshing to see me in dialogue with someone else. But now I'm in dialogue with myself, which is apropos of the season that I'm in. I'm on sabbatical, and people are like, well, what the heck does that mean? It's just, it can mean the dictionary definition. It could mean that, but that's not what it means to me. Sabbatical to something as opposed to from something in this case for me. Sabbatical is usually some sort of Sabbath, some sort of sacred away time from your typical obligations and routines. For me, I felt the need to take a sabbatical from not from anything. While there are certain things that I'm abstaining from, it is critical to me in this time to take a sabbatical to myself. I've been thinking a lot about self-love, a lot about what it means to parent myself, what it means to take care of myself. And I don't know what that means yet, so it's important to investigate how to fall in love with myself in a way that's not like Narcissus, the Greek character, but in a way that's healthy. It's like an attempt to love myself in the way that other people love me. And I don't even know if that could be a form of self-sabotage. While that's beautiful, I think it's beautiful to be able to see yourself through someone else's eyes. I don't know if that affects the process in a way. It taints the process of loving yourself, or I don't want to say corrupt, but it influences the outcome in a way that isn't self-determined, that isn't self-generated. And the outcome being, I feel a deeper, more abiding love for myself. And I know what that means. So, what is love? What is love for self? I think it's care. It's like taking care of myself. And so I'm taking care of myself in a way that I didn't take care of myself for a very long time. And I can see it in the photos of myself, if you keep it a band, like just the way that I groom myself, the things, the activities, the self-care sort of routines that a person builds up that I subverted for the sake of, I think a lot of things, for the sake of being a parent, which I think is appropriate considering I just finished a run with interviewing or being in community, being in dialogue with my 3 sons. I subverted a lot of self-care because it seemed heroic. It seemed like the right thing to do. Parenting is about sacrifice, but only so much. And that's what I'm seeing in reflection. You can only give so much from a depleted state, from a state that is in perpetual sacrifice. You run into a kind of debt, and it's a debt to yourself, not necessarily to anybody else. It's a debt to yourself that you incur when you don't prioritize spiritual maintenance, physical maintenance, you name it, any of the kinds of hygiene other than, brushing your teeth. I was brushing my teeth when I was parenting. I mean, my kids are older now, so I was brushing my teeth that whole time, but but there were other things like spiritually, socially, just things that, just desires, wants, I don't know, dispositions, like affinities that I hadn't thoroughly cultivated. I wasn't asking myself, like, what do you want to do? What do you like? Who are you? And I don't know that like that came to a culmination recently as much as it's been something that I've been chewing on for a while. It's a process. And just like a side note, like I believe in epiphanies as in like the one eureka, like the lightning strike, but I think they're far less common than like the longer hunch. I like cultivating like a hunch where whatever the message is, whatever that divine inspiring message is from God, the universe, Holy Spirit, whatever you think that is, or your own internal consciousness or your conscience, whatever that is, it can be a chorus, like a quiet chorus that whispers a message to you over and over until you get it. So that hunch develops over a period of time. It develops over a sequence of engagements, of patterns, relationships, and any of those things. It develops over the course of that. And so the epiphany, so it's like a long epiphany, a long inspiration, like a sunrise. That's what it is. It's like a sunrise. Whereas like before you know it, everything is illuminated. Everything is much clearer. Everything is high def. And you're like, oh, I see where I have to go now. And so, I mean, that's pretty on the nose metaphor, but I think a sunrise as opposed to an epiphany is what I love to experience, or what I'm on the lookout for. Sunrises. And so I'm in a sunrise right now, which is fairly common. I feel like I live my life, my internal life, my philosophical life, my spiritual life is integrated with my physical life, or my life in nature, where there are cycles. Of course, we're always experiencing cycles. You have sunset, sunrise. I would like to think that, like emotionally, throughout the course of my life, I've gone through these periods when I'm in a sunset, where I'm in a period where part of me is dormant, part of me is dark, but dark is fine, dark is beautiful because dark is a womb-like state. But part of me during that, like whatever down, dark, buried seeds, in the soil, dark seed state, part of me is also active. So there's a nocturnal thing. There's something that is happening when I'm sad, when I've been depressed. There's still stuff happening. And then there's the part where I'm in a process of awakening and illuminated, and the path is so much clearer, and there's a definition of fidelity to reality that is clearer than it's been then it's been during periods of like, oh, I don't know, twilight, the in between, where I'm like, it's deep dark or it's bright, and I don't want to characterize that in such a way where I'm like, because I haven't been diagnosed with multiple personalities or like bipolar disorder, and I don't even believe that at all. I just think there's just cycles. Like we all have cycles. Like the shifts and the changes are a natural part of existing. Change is the only constant. Which is the topic of a conversation that I had with a friend yesterday. We had a great talk, and there's this thing. Just as a side note, there's this thing that happens when, just in general, like people have friends that reach out to them, but it happens. Like I have certain kinds of conversations when I am intentional about reclaiming my time, when I take a form of a sabbatical. So when I decide to disconnect from these artificial, like say for instance, social media, because that's really the thing, that is something that I'm taking a sabbatical from. Like social media is a no for me right now. That's a hard pass. And when that happens, it's like everything. It's like the spirit says, now's the time for the most important incoming messages. Like you've been wasting a lot of time taking in and digesting and having these lots of inbound noise. And now that you've shut that off, now you've sorted out and filtered out all of that bad stuff, and now all the good stuff can come in. All the most productive things can find their way in. And so that's what that conversation that we had yesterday. My good friend from since, we were teenagers just called me out of the blue, which is one of my favorite things. But it's one of those things that I find to be not just happenstance, like the kind of serendipity that is the Spirit. The Holy Spirit saying, I have something for you. And so in that conversation, we talked about a lot of stuff. I want to take some notes. I want to refer to some notes. Look at me referring to some notes from, I refer to something that we talked about yesterday. I had a lucid dream yesterday evening. So not this night, the night before this was recorded, but the night before that, I had a lucid dream. And I noticed it was a lucid dream because it was hyper realistic. That's the ironic thing about my lucid dreams. I know I'm having a lucid dream, and I have had this is probably my second or third, maybe fourth lucid dream. I know I'm having a lucid dream, a dream wherein I'm aware that I'm dreaming, and I don't wake up, when it becomes hyper realistic, when it becomes, I don't want to say high definition, but yeah, hyper realistic is the term, where it becomes a little bit too gaudy, a little bit too granular. And then I recognize, oh, I'm dreaming right now. And so I was just looking at a postcard in my dream, and there's a line drawing, and the lines became very distinct, granular, and sharp. And I was like, oh, I'm dreaming. And the second I knew that I was dreaming and I didn't wake up, there's this battle that happened inside my psyche to try to maintain the dream. Because the thing about knowing when you're dreaming is the dream usually disintegrates. It becomes incoherent, and then you wake up. And so that's the thing. The thing is fighting the urge to be meta thinking about the dream and going with it, but still remembering that you're in the dream. So I don't know how to describe that phenomenon better than that, but that's kind of what was happening. And there's this funny thing, so in the dream, when I realized it was lucid, I was like, okay, so now, when you have a lucid dream, it's like, okay, now I think I can control the dream. I can be the actor. I can take full agency over how this thing goes. And the ironic thing about this particular lucid dream is like I couldn't. I wanted to change things. I didn't fly right away like the first time I had a lucid dream, one of my first major lucid dreams. I flew immediately. Like, poof, just took off. This one, I was constrained. I was in a different level of lucidity where I recognized it, but I was kind of stuck in the narrative. So anyway, for whatever reason, like I put my hands off in the distance and I made like a finger gun. And I was like, okay, now that I know this is a dream, maybe I can transform my hand into like a pistol. Why that occurred to me in that dream, I have no idea, but that was the first thing. And so I'm looking like between the foreground and the background, like my fingers and like whatever was in the distance, and a few moments in dream time, and it doesn't change. And I feel like there's like a metaphor there, because like my hand never turned into a pistol. So I'm wondering what my subconscious was trying to say, because the subconscious has a lot to say. I just recently went to my friend Dr. Rosina Bakari, a poetry family comrade. I would say, she wouldn't call herself a mentor, but like to me, but like she definitely through her behavior, through her life story, through her way of showing up, she has been a mentor to me. I went to her book. I don't know what you would call this event. It's a book event. Book's called 7 Exits. Wherein she talked about the power of the subconscious. And that's not the totality of the book itself. You have to get the book to get the details. 7 Exits is about leaving certain situations that aren't the best for you, that aren't the most productive, that aren't the most nurturing for you. It's about exits and not leaving totally. It's not about abandonment as much as it is shifts, as well as, like big shifts, small shifts, but exits. Ways to get off the expressway or whatever, or out of the traffic jam, as it were. But the power of the subconscious, she mentioned that. And that was just in an exercise. We were just doing a number exercise, pick a number between 1 and 7. Mine was 7, by the way. And I don't even remember what that was mapped onto, what that was attached to, like what 7 represented. Because there's a wheel of corresponding issues that you may need to leave. And so I'll have to double back and figure out what 7 was. But anyway, the power of the subconscious is where I got distracted, or where I got on this hyperlink, as I am wont to do. So something in my subconscious would not let me manipulate my dream. And I don't know that it was even just about like, it didn't want me to turn my hand into a pistol, because there were other things, I think other subsequent events that are fuzzy to me now because I didn't write them down. There are other events that didn't submit to my will or to my desires. I was still kind of trapped in the narrative, even though I still recognized that I was asleep. And often in lucid dreams, I will experience like this weird layered consciousness where I'll know I'm dreaming, but not enough, and I will talk to people in my dreams knowing that I'm dreaming, but talk to them anyway as though they are real and I'm not talking to myself. If that makes sense. Like I'm talking to the characters in the dream as though they were actual living the person. Like my first lucid dream, I remember flying and seeing my friend Corey, the homie Corey, and was telling Corey about like, I having a lucid dream, or I had a lucid dream. And so I shifted from like realizing I was a lucid dream to like back into dreaming and said, I had this lucid dream where I was flying and I'm kind of think I'm still in it. And I just want to let you know that isn't that dope that I was flying in my lucid dream like immediately. And I'm talking to this person as though I'm talking to somebody other than myself. Like I'm talking to the embodiment of of Corey in my brain, which, I mean, I guess that's what it is. This is any character in your dream is an embodiment of that person. It's an avatar, your creation, your composite, what you've cobbled together from your experiences with them. They exist in your brain. Is it them for real? I don't know. And to that I don't know point, that reminds me of like something that we talked about, me and my friend yesterday, we talked about the possibility. I mean, we had a really dope conversation. We talked about the possibility that dreams are not just a story. They are living a parallel reality. So when you're dreaming, you're living a version of your life wherein you made different choices. And so you're living in a different dimension. You're living in a different universe where some changes, a few little butterfly effect changes were made, and you had a different you had different relationships, you had different realities. So it's not just like, oh, well, my brain's just making up stuff and I'm just doing these stories. It's like when it's you are actually the other self, and you're just seeing a glimpse. You're glimpsing through that veil, that gauzy veil, and living that life, as opposed to just the life that you're living through your conscious and wakeful state. Whether that's true or not is immaterial. The wonder of it all, the discussion, like the ability to explore is a beautiful thing. It's one of my favorite things. And it really is a blessing from the Spirit to have that conversation in this time when I'm taking a sabbatical into self and trying to figure out how to love myself in a way that seems authentic and pure. And what I'm being told from the Spirit, I'm being told people's perspectives of like why they love me. And and I think that's helpful. I've had a sequence of, without belaboring the actual events, I've had a sequence lately of people delivering flowers, metaphorically, but giving props on some memory that they had, some experience, something that I had long forgotten, some gift that I gave, or some perspective, something that I offered to the world and to other people that they appreciated, totally unsolicited. And I'm recognizing now that's the momentum, that's the push for me to find a way to love myself. It's like, well, here are your prompts, because this is what others think about. This is the experience that people are having through you. And so I think if I had to offer anything to anyone, I would encourage, I don't know that you need to send out a survey. I don't know that I would encourage you to be like, hey, I'm sending out a survey. Everybody, how do you see me? Like, how do you love me? And all that other stuff. Because, I mean, I don't know that you're going to get the same kind of genuineness and authenticity as you would when it strikes someone, when that sunrise happens in them and they say, you know what? I need to reach out to so-and-so, to whoever the person was, and tell them how much they mean to me. Yeah, there's something, I think, for me, pure about that slow epiphany in someone else where it's genuine, where they understand, they see you clearly, fully illuminated, and they like what they see. Yeah, there's something about that. What else did we talk about? Oh, we talked about anger. And I want to share this insight, and I don't think it's speaking out of turn to talk about this insight, because it's not details. It's not this friend's details. I haven't even said the friend's name. But so my friend was talking about anger and how they've been dealing with anger, and they were going, and in the end, they had done a really good job. They felt like they'd done a really good job over the last, I don't know, maybe decade or so, of containing their anger, of mitigating it, of not cussing people out, not going off on anybody, not, crashing out, as you would say. And so it's particularly through a life-changing and life-altering transition. So they have patted themselves on the back. But in a conversation with their therapist, they were maybe congratulating themselves a little bit about that part, the part about anger and not, cussing anybody out. But the therapist asked something that was really poignant and said, well, but weren't you depressed through this major transition? And my friend was like, yeah, I was pretty down. Like, I didn't cuss anybody out. I didn't experience any anger that I knew of, but I was depressed. And the therapist said, do you recognize that depression was anger at the self? And I was like, that got me good. That was a dart. So, and her saying that, this friend, it sparked a whole other conversation about just like the energy of anger. And I was just thought about how anger in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's a necessary thing. It is something that we experience. It is one of our emotional tools that are available to us. And it is a thing it is a phenomenon that desires action. It is a power in us. It is a state of being in us that means something must change. And so that energy has to go somewhere. So when we express energy outward, harming other people, hurting feelings, or whatever, kicking something, whatever it is, when we're expressing that energy outward, then that's a clear form of anger. Like, everybody recognizes that. But often we think when we haven't expressed that anger that we've handled it properly. And this was a gift from my friend. That was, I'm paraphrasing, but that was the statement. Like, I'm doing okay. I haven't had any outbursts. I haven't cussed anybody out. I'm doing great. But are you sad? Are you really sad? Are you really depressed? And I start to think about like all of the times, like how like anger for me has been my homie. Like, I don't know if anger is like my best friend, but I always described anger, or like from my childhood, like this super dense kind of ball about this size, like a black hole of animosity. Like, so a super dense, so every harm that I had experienced, every indignity, is that the right word? I don't care. Every indignity that I had experienced was like this particle that had been pulled down, and so it was just getting more and more massive and dense, but like about that big. So that was anger for me. And so and I carried that. And so we have been hand in hand for quite some time. And the issue with it is, like, if it wasn't going out, if it wasn't being expressed in a way that was, in many instances, unhealthy, it would be just sitting there. And so each indignity, gets pulled into this supermassive black hole. So each indignity, boom, it gets more dense. And in turn, I don't know if you know about black holes, they get more dense. That means they have more mass. And then so they can attract more things. And so the pull is heavier. And so you've got that. So you're internalizing, the brother, myself, is internalizing all of these things. And so it's attracting each indignity, each harm, each trauma, or whatever you want to call it. And so the thing gets more dense. And then I get more sad. And it wasn't until like a handful of, I don't know, maybe a decade or two ago or so where I thought to myself, where I start to understand that like my sadness was like a half metabolized, a half chewed form of anger. It took forever, well, what seems like forever, a lot of my life to realize that like, oh, that sadness I was feeling, those times when I was feeling really down, they were the result of like the indignity comes in, the harm comes in, the black hole pulls it in, it adds more mass, it gets even heavier. And, it gives me a long-term sad in some cases. Not recognizing that for so long, I guess it could give you even more of a sad, but I'm actually grateful. It was such a relief to understand the weird circular relationship, perpetual motion kind of relationship that sadness and anger have with one another. And, there's something about recognizing that's refreshing, more than a diagnosis. And I guess that's why people kind of get obsessed with diagnosis, because they feel like that's a start. Like, at least I know. At least it's not just wrong for the sake of wrong state. Like, you have a name for it. Something about naming it makes it easier to maybe apprehend, catch, put handcuffs on it, and maybe separate it. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the diagnosis or whatever helps you to separate yourself to like you, the observer, the good one, and then like this little persona that happens to be, oh, Mr. Angry or Mr. You name the thing that's a person can be diagnosed. We have tons of different things. I mean, on the autism spectrum or borderline disorder, whatever the thing is that people have decided to pathologize or not. Something about the diagnosis, I think, puts handcuffs on it and separates it, incarnates it into a separate persona so that you can say, this thing is not necessarily all me. It's another person. Anyway, I'm digressing. All of that is to kind of say about the anger and like sort of the energy of depression. I'm just going to read from my diary. Depression, a form of anger acting on ourselves. And that could explain my frustration. That could explain how my frustration would turn to anger, would turn to sadness, would turn to depression. Anger wants us to do something with its energy, even if it means using that energy, is to hold us down. Because if I know anything about depression, it's that it wasn't just a matter of not having energy. It was a matter of being pinned to the couch by that energy, fastened to the bed by that energy. So that was one of my insights from yesterday. I'm glad to be on sabbatical. I have no expectations about what's about to happen over the course of sabbatical. I'm really early in it, but I do know I have been reassured by the voice of the Holy Spirit through people in my life, through loved ones in my life. And that to me is more than enough reassurance. So more to come. Thank you for joining me for this stream of consciousness rant. I hope it was beneficial to you. I hope you got something out of it. And think about taking a sabbatical. Think about taking a Sabbath for you, to you. Return to yourself. Find a way to love yourself a little bit deeper if you can. Yeah. Peace out.